education gives you a different way of looking at
That's
it.
the way. That's not the way that God works. The whole point of science is that it doesn't require faith. That it has evidence that backs up your beliefs.
How does science help those people in Kibera? How does science help?
Hang on. Wait a minute, over here. Carry on. Laurie's over here.
Science doesn't need faith. The whole... How? In what way does science need faith? No, but I don't have faith.
It needs a leap of faith. What happened 1 second before the Big Bang?
I don't know, but that
absolutely. So you're exercising faith. You are exercising faith. Be honest.
Can I finish? Right.
Absolutely.
The fact that I don't know what happened a second before the Big Bang doesn't, assuming you can even consider a second before the Big Bang, assuming time existed, doesn't mean that science never will know that.
Didn't say that. So that means that you are exercising faith.
No, it means that I'm working on the basis of the best available evidence.
You are exercising faith. Be honest.
Who gave you the evidence?
Christianity. Christians used to teach. Can I just make this point?
Wait. This is very difficult to follow. But the fact is that religion used to claim to explain everything, but it explains that the Big Bang is a good one. Though.
It is, because in the 50s, Christians used to say that the universe had a beginning. Science used to say the universe didn't have a beginning, it always existed.
Some scientists.
Absolutely.
Scientists isn't
Some science has moved.
So
you need to, as scientists, you need to exercise faith.
No. If science was still peddling that principle, that the universe had always existed, because that's what we believe, then absolutely we would be no better than religion. But science has looked at the evidence and moved on. Yeah. Faith doesn't do that. Religion doesn't do that.
So what happened? I go back to my question. You are still exercising, but you are still exercising faith.
Wait, thank you. Religion. Why is it that in the countries of the world which have most educated people, is there most atheism? Why is that?
I just want
socioeconomics?
People find new gods, don't they? People find new, like whether it be celebrity or whether it be money, and then you come back, and then some of those people find celebrity, find money, and find actually.
If you taught in science that there are one group of people who believe the Earth is round, and there is another group of people who believe the Earth is flat, you automatically bring in this assumption that the two propositions are a 50-50 proposition. And by teaching all these different ideas of the world, that evolution might be true, that religion might be true, that isn't the case. And it frustrates me that it's being taught as different kinds of truth.
Sorry?
What is the point of religion?
What is the point of religion?
If you can take these great parts of the Bible which say, love your neighbour, do good to those who persecute you, etc., that's brilliant. What you don't need is the things that say, burn witches, stone adulterers. And if you can carry that...
It's very easy for people outside faith to look in and accuse people and say, you know, you're cherry-picking this, that and the other.
Laurie, what do you think about giving a child that you have the religion that you want to give that child?
I think it's quite naive to say that that there aren't people with very, very strong faith who do horrible things and believe horrible things because of their religion. Now, it doesn't mean that it actually says that in their texts, or that's what the texts mean, or what the correct interpretation is, or whatever. But there are people who, you know, bomb abortion clinics because they feel so strongly based on their faith that that's the right thing to do. I think that's highly polluting to many people's minds, and certainly can be extremely damaging in children. I think parents have an absolute right to bring their children up in the manner they see fit. But, you know, it becomes danger when, say, Jehovah's Witnesses restricting their children from having, you know, blood transplants transfusion, because they think that it's against God. I mean, that people die as a result of that.
But that's more, but for them, that is more important. That for them, I guess, the idea that they could die isn't the worst thing that could happen, because within that religious understanding, there are things that they find more important than you, who don't have a particular.
Right, and that's great for them. That's great for them. And as an individual, they have every right to die as a result of lack of medical treatment because of what they believe. But when their kids with you know, developing leukemia aren't getting the treatment they need because their parents believe things which are frankly insane, that's
I think there should be protection.
Faith schools are a good idea, then. They give you that moral code.
No. But why would you need faith to give you a moral code? There's so much...
Where do you think most of the moral code comes from? Human beings.
From people.
Just human beings, we just kind of made it up.
If you take...
A lot of this country that you live in was built on a very Christian foundation. A lot of it.
But the ancient Greeks had a moral code.
Yeah, they had a moral code, but it's all built on
That was long before Jesus.
But it's all built on faith, isn't it? It was all built on their faith and their gods. So it's all built on a higher ground, on a higher purpose. That's where it's all...
Any of the human rights legislations that have come in the last 50, 100 years, the legislation against homophobia, against sexism, you take any of those things, against slavery, how many of them came from the Bible? Religion is consistently opposed
A lot of
over
those.
the years.
A lot of those.
Questions that our laws have come about.
But I think we also need to look at the fact that human rights legislation says that children need to have freedom of religion, and parents also need to have freedom to bring their children up in a religion if they choose to. Now, obviously, you have to balance that against
human
the
rights laws often compete against each other, don't they?
You balance it against the right of the child to make their own decision to leave a religion if they want to.
For example, the process of evolution. And they say that deepens their faith because it is so amazing.
Yeah, completely. I think science, I'm not a scientist, but I find myself hearing these scientific developments in quantum physics, and as far as I do understand it, I stand in awe, and I think it's amazing and awesome, and I'm inspired in wonder. I don't have a kind of breakdown in my faith, because I'm not reading the Bible like as you say, like a manual or a textbook or a scientific... Excuse me.
It's pointless. I'm sorry to interrupt you, but, you know, if you get rid of the Bible and say that you have to follow evolution, then the whole basis of the Bible breaks down. The whole basis, the whole point of us being here, the whole concept of sin.
Your faith may break down if you don't believe in creationism, but it doesn't.
Very disingenuous of Christians to
There are many people who read that, many scientists, and it has deepened. I know Christians deepen their faith because it is such a
because it means, well, if you believe in evolution, it means that the whole basis...
It's no question of believing in evolution.
The Genesis story is not a science...
Laurie, when you hear phrases like that, believing in evolution, what do you think?
I think it's lovely when people are able to, reconcile their beliefs, and they're welcome to them. The problem is that a lot of, as this man's demonstrating, a lot of religious people make scientific claims, make claims about the natural world, whether that's the virgin birth, whether it's the nature of the development of life on this earth. They're making claims which can be testable by science, are hypotheses which can be tested with evidence, and time again they've been demonstrated to be inaccurate, to not hold up to the best evidence we can get. Now, if you want to have faith in God and believe that there's some kind of spiritual force in the universe, that's fine, great. And I know plenty of scientists who have that kind of belief and believe in science. When you're making claims about the natural world that simply aren't true, then you're wrong.